What's good, y'all? Let's get this going. What up? We're gonna do a state of the culture. It's been a while, so we're gonna bring the good brother 19 Keys on, and we're gonna talk about a few things. First and foremost, hope everybody got their tickets to Invest Fest. It's going down. Shout out to my boy Diddy, headliner, first headliner announced. Um, it's gonna be a vibe, man. Atlanta, Georgia, August 25th through August 27th. We back at it. If you've been to the first two, you know how we do. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be a vibe. Joe Button. If anybody watched that, did y'all watch that Joe Button episode, man? I ain't gonna front. It kind of caught me by surprise, the energy that they had. But shout out to the guys. Shout out to Corey first and foremost, and shout out to Ish. Shout out to Ice. Shout out to Joe, Queens Flip, Melissa Ford, the whole crew, Parks. I actually had fun. I can't front. I had some fun. You know, it wasn't the usual EYL conversation that we have when people interview us. It was different than what I expected and what we're used to, but I think it actually made for a pretty decent conversation. We had a lot of fun. So, you know, we know Joe. I actually know Joe. So, you know, I understand how he is, man. So I ain't really take it personal. Don't take anything personal. I actually posted that today. Second agreement. Don't take it personal. Shout out to them, man. They doing their thing. Check the episode out if you haven't, for sure. Uh, there we go. There we go. What's good?
There you go. Man, blessings. Man, you say don't take nothing
Well, man, you know,
personal, huh?
part of the game, man. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, especially with y'all media run, man. I mean, well, especially just being a public figure. You know what I'm saying? Success creates opposition,
It's a black
you know.
piece of Nipsey Hussle.
Um,
Shout out to my brother Black Sam. I spoke to him today, and he showed me that they actually started breaking ground on so on Crenshaw and Slauson, where the marathon store was, the first marathon store. He said in the interview they actually turned that into a center for young people
mm,
to learn, teach them about, you know, arts, teach them about financial literacy, music, and all of that stuff. So they just started breaking ground on that, and he sent me a video on that. But the reason why I'm saying that is one of the last tweets that Nipsey Hussle actually said was, "It's a blessing to have strong opposition." Something. So
hmm
I told Queens Flip, haters just confused admiration. So once again, shout out to Joe Button. I don't think it was hate. Did you see? Did you see it?
You
Well,
talking about the
that's a clip.
Versace
But
shirt
when you get
line?
a chance, watch the whole interview. It was interesting. It was an interesting
Okay.
conversation. I'll let you use your own judgment to see how you felt about it. But like I said, I appreciate them for having us up there. And I know Joe personally, and you know he's a different type of dude. So I don't feel that it was hate. I just felt like it was an opportunity to have a different conversation, which I actually appreciated because we always talk about the same thing: financial literacy and different things.
Yeah.
So this was like, you know, he was coming at us from a whole different point of view, a whole different spectrum, and it wasn't something that I was actually uh, thinking that he was going to do, but I actually appreciate it. It let us, you know, dance a little differently this time around.
Yeah, I think that that's necessary. I mean, just for growth of yourself and the platform. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all human beings, and we're not just one dimensional, number one. And we have value in other
That's
different areas
right.
outside of what people know us for. You know what I'm saying? Once you become, I don't like the word gatekeepers, once you become culture keepers, you know what I mean? People that start to either push the culture forward or uphold the culture in a particular way, then I don't think it should be limited to one dimension of thought. You know what I mean? Like financial literacy really is speaking on something broader, which is, you know, what causes those financial literate or illiterate situations, the roots of why our culture is messed up and where we at today. So, you know, I think, yeah, you know, the money, you follow the money and you find
That,
all the problems in
that's
the world. But what was the topic of
No, well,
conversation though? So
it
now
was
I'm
a
curious.
variety of different things, but he was talking about like, yo, opposition, really. Like, yo, who's your enemies? Who do you have problems with? Like, he said, I can't wait for y'all to have a scandal. You know, variety of different, you know, a very confrontational. It's very confrontational in manner.
I would say this about that. It's 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 one of those things where you can't really have longevity in the public eye until you go through something in the public eye, and then you know what I mean. The people understand that I still feel the same way about you. You know what I'm saying? Like that adversity does build character. You know, there was a saying that I held on to since I was younger. I'm not sure if it came from Elijah Muhammad, but it was always accredited to him when I was told about it. And they say, if you don't have an enemy, buy you one, right? Because enemies keep you sharp, right? And you can't be a hero without an enemy. You know what I'm saying? You can't be a hero without a villain. So you have to, you have to be opposing something, right? And I don't know if it's always somebody in the culture, but we do have a lot of villains in the culture. So you know, having an enemy just makes you more of a hero. And then scandals and things of that nature, that just makes you human. You know what I'm saying? That don't take away from any of the movement whatsoever, because the movement is validated by its necessity, not by the perfection of the messengers. You feel me? So having scandals or flaws or mischaracterizations or whatever that is, you know, that's the people's decision to say, well, I'm human, they human too. And I appreciate what they decide to do with their human life outside of what other things that may pop up. I don't care about none of that. Like, you know, every soldier and every general in history then has something, you know, just about that a person could consider so-calledly, if they was fake perfect, I want to counsel them for.
That's a fact. That's a, so. State of the culture. Where we at? 5. This is 5.
State of the culture, man. Yeah, I think it's about a good 5 in the book. We're gonna have to turn this into a whole book.
Me and 19 Keys been doing the state of the culture thing for months now, and every couple of months we get on, we talk about different topics. And I know it's an exciting time in the world right now. I know you got your tour. You about to Apollo Theater this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Born Day, May 4th. Everybody want to pull up, celebrate history with me in the making. That's gonna be beautiful. You know, I can't wait to see everybody in the building. You gonna be on tour. I can't wait till we have our high level conversation on tour. It's gonna be different doing this in person. I always tell people my tour is uncensored. You know what I'm saying? It's unfiltered. It's unlimited. You never know what's gonna happen. It's different, especially at Apollo Theater. We got some nice surprises. There's gonna be a lot of people that say, "I wish I was in the building." Then there's gonna be some people that will say, "I'm happy I showed up." So I rock with those people. But state of the culture today, man, right on the topic of media, right? And the gatekeeper culture, right? You know, what do you think about, do you believe that, let me ask you, do you believe that you're becoming a gatekeeper?
It's a good question.
We're going to start you
Let's
off
get
right.
to it. Let's get to it. Are we becoming a gatekeeper?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I believe so. I believe in it because yeah. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. And on a certain level, yeah. And there's a lot. But
you think that's good or bad? Historically, people think gatekeeper
I
ain't
think
think
that
good.
it depends on how you look at it, right? Like a gatekeeper is somebody that has to keep the gate. Our situation is a little different because we built the gate. So, you know what I'm saying? That's we wasn't handed the keys to the kingdom. We weren't handed, like, you know what I'm saying, like, this is a gate. This is your you know, your hour to watch it. We built something and we kind of built the castle. So yeah, in some regards, I guess we do have the keys to the kingdom in some aspects. And you have keys to a kingdom. Everybody has different people have different keys to different kingdoms. But I think gatekeeper is a word that people kind of, misuse the wrong way. Because it's like, I think they use gatekeeper as somebody stopping them from getting in. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that because I never asked for anybody to let me in anywhere. So, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
like, if you're asking for somebody to let you in, then that's your own personal problem for actually even having that type of mentality where you're relying on somebody else to provide for you. So for me, I don't look at it like, we're a gatekeeper as far as we have the freedom to let people in or let people out. We have our own gate, and we can let whoever we want in our gate, and we cannot allow access to whoever we want in our gate with no explanation. We don't have to explain. Like, if we have an event,
Right.
and we invite somebody, we don't have to invite somebody. If we have an event and we do invite somebody, they have the right, just like anybody else. You have an event, everybody. So I feel like the idea of that is still like a slave mentality where people is looking at one person has my destiny in their hands and they're stopping me from doing something. That's the slave mentality. That's the wrong way to look at it. Nobody has your destiny in your hands other than yourself. Only person that's stopping you from doing something is you. That's it.
Yeah, I think people start to when you see the thing about success, and this is what I'm learning, especially the platform is getting big. You understand me? To a point where when you say things, you have to recognize your own growth so that you understand what it means now when you say things versus what it meant maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, right? Because now I can say something and it holds a different weight because I'm in a different position, right? When I first started the show, like let's say high level conversations, everybody went knocking and beating down my door to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like ain't nobody was hitting me up, but when you go and make what you build successful, then other people feel they have a right to be on there. Like it's a privilege. And then they believe that you're denying them that privilege when a person may have not been thinking about you whatsoever. And at the same time, as young black men in this game, when you talk about building your own gate, that means you have to fund it as well. You have to take your time, your energy, resources, and money, and you have to build something. This is what you decide that this is what I'm going to use my life for. And then once you build something, people believe I have the privilege. And if they don't put me in what they built, you know what I'm saying? Now they're against me, or they hating, or they got an issue with me, or a problem, or they trying to keep me out because I'm the messiah of the world and they don't want nobody to know. Like whatever it is that people conjure up in their head, these be the battles that they go with themselves to say, how come I'm not being chosen? And the problem I have with that ultimately is because when somebody builds something, y'all some messy ass people in the comments because I don't know what's going on with nobody's shows or nothing. So I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all, man. If y'all coming on some weird ass energy, cut that shit out and leave. Like I hate sucker shit. So please do yourself a favor and leave.
Y'all talking about Tony the Closer. The crazy thing is I actually spoke to him on the phone for like an hour. So no,
I actually don't know what they're talking about.
No, I'm not talking about him. But here's the thing. I'm glad you said that. There's people. This is the lowest level of human being. The lowest level of human being is you do a show at the Apollo, right? And then I'm not invited to the show. I'm not on the bill. Somebody hits me like, yo, 19 Keys doing a show at the Apollo. You live in New York, right? Why he ain't have you on the show at the Apollo? That is the lowest level of human. That is the lowest level of human, bro. And that's the centipede of the earth. And that's what social media is full of. Social media is full of centipedes. Like, people, they do that all the time. Like, yo, they having an event. Why you ain't, they tagging people in the comments like, yo, why 19 Keys not on this show? How come Ian is not, why MG the mortgage guy didn't go with you to the breakfast? So now that's really the devil. That's the devil work right there. Because what you're doing is you're planting deceit in somebody else's brain, right? But you think it's like friendly fire. Because how they going about it is like on some friendly shit. Like, yo, bro, like I thought that was your man.
Right.
Why don't you do something for yourself? Like y'all got this much time to talk about another person that you don't know, that you never met in life, and you have nothing going on for yourself. You're dead broke. You're out of shape. Your relationship is in shambles. Your kids is in the street. You're drinking because you can't cope with the pain. You're smoking your life away. And you got enough time to be a grown man, 38 years old, 42 years old, or a grown woman. And like, just think about that. These are the centipedes of the earth. These are the scum. This is the scum of the universe. If you're doing something like that, you're the worst person in the world. You're literally the worst person in the world, but it happens over and over again, bro. Like, we was just on a Black Enterprise cover. Instead of everybody saying, somebody commented like, yo, why wasn't MG the mortgage guy on the cover with you? Because it's Earn Your Leisure, first of all, and me and Troy started Earn Your Leisure. So, but why would you even make a comment like that?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how about when we brought MG the mortgage guy to the Breakfast Club? We didn't have to do that, right? How about when he became a partner with us? We like, instead of highlighting all of the stuff that you don't see, or that you're not aware of, or that you are aware of, you look for one thing and try to twist it and try to set some level of infighting, right? Between an issue that's not even there, and that happens all the time. And y'all keep doing it. Like, no, stop doing that.
Because we can go fall for the sucker shit. I think that's what they got to understand. We're not falling for it. I think historically it's worked so well when you sow seeds of dissent amongst the righteous, is what it's called. So that's what the devil do. And the power of suggestion is so powerful, right? Like, they can drop something in the ear, and it may not hit now, but when that person is at their weakness, they believe that. Oh man, Shadi and them don't fuck with you. And bro, like, get out of my face. And then when that person at a low point, they start believing it because that bug been planted in their ear. So they know how to sow seeds amongst the righteous so that they can start creating chaos. And those are the agents against change. You feel me? And so, like, for us, it's about being very aware of the tactics of the devil, because that's what they go try. When a person is unhappy with their house, they want to create unhappiness in your house, so y'all can be on equal terms. How dare you be living better than me? You know what I'm saying? How dare you feel you got rest, calm, and peace in your household, and I ain't got nothing but chaos and negativity and stress in mine. And so it's like, for us, it's going to always be this battle, because we live in a world that's not conducive towards positive energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a movement about a growth campaign for the world, right? To become, literate in a progressive culture, so that we can finally build out the ideas and the things that our ancestors have fought for historically. So, like, with us working together, I always take time and stop, and I reflect and appreciate all of my relationships, right? And that stops any idea of hate or jealousy that can even pop up. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan once said something so profound: when you find yourself jealous of somebody, help them. You know what I'm saying? It reverses that energy. You can't hate and help at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, our growth won't be based on the same blueprints previously that, our father's generation or uncle's generation and grandpa's generation, that was their tactics. Them niggas needed to beef with each other in order to build. It's because what they were trying to do was siphon attention and to create these little small cohorts of people who can be miserable in their own sections. Instead, we saying, no, I see videos about me sometimes, but it's like, why would I respond? Because then I'm working with your tactics. I'm working with you if I respond. You know what I'm saying? Because your whole thing is, at some point in time, as a child, you didn't know how to garner attention, right? That's that child in you that didn't know how to gain attention from their parents. And that child in you responds sometimes in the way that they act, right? And so people are being children in their attention-seeking strategies instead of being grown men and women and building something for themselves. Like, you can't say, oh, well, Keys, I was there, I gave you money, or Keys, I was there, I built this for you. No, you ain't do shit. I had to do it on my own. You know what I'm saying? So you can mention my name, but that just means you want attention. And instead of calling me on the phone like a man would do, that's what you're going to do as a little boy. right? And so we got a culture that we ain't got a man up culture. We ain't got a woman up culture. No, we have a little like this it's not even strategic, it's just tactical hell that people live in, just trying things that will never work. And it's never going to exalt you into position, but we operate from a place of trauma that our media, and we're so immature that we react from an immature place, not from a mature place. We're not speaking from, oh, we're wise now, we get it. We've had the experiences, we're not going to do that. No, you see that brother's success, and instead of enjoying your own success, you hating on this person's success, right? And it's like, bro, we all have the opportunity to build events, to build stages, to build businesses, to build media, to work together, to even, and this is where some of y'all throw away your opportunities of collaboration by creating premature negativity. Where it's like, bro, you know, if you would have just controlled yourself and shut your mouth and called that brother, and then y'all could have figured out when was the right time to build, right? It probably would have happened. But in your moments of frustration, you go public with it, right? And now it becomes more of an issue because now it's a lack of respect on one side because you don't know how to control yourself. Frustration is okay. It's okay to want to be on the platform. It's okay to want to build with your brother. I love that. But taking that and making your brother your enemy is sucker shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I build relationships. Like, it's people that I ain't worked with and I ain't asked nothing for till 2 years, 3 years later. And I want to say this last thing too, because, you know, it be people that want to get on my show. And it's like, you want me to invest in you by having you on my show. Because I have to spend the money. I got to fly out the team. We got to set up production. We have to use advertisement time on my channel, right? And on the EYL network. And that's a whole episode. What if that episode doesn't do well? Are you going to compensate me back my money for that? No. And so I'm investing into you when I have you on the show. And at the same time, when was the last time you thought about taking some of your investment budget and invest it into the media? Say, you know what, I got a business. Let me shoot 19 kids 100,000 or something. Let me invest in this, see this thing grow. Because if his business grows and he put my advertisement on his business, then my business grow. But people think about what you can do for them, not what they can do for you. So then it becomes this one-sided thing to where they want to be your master. And if you don't do what they say, then they can have a problem with you. That's not how men and women react. How a real boss go look at it, figure out a way to make it a mutually beneficial situation. But we're so immature, we don't understand the mature tactics of real growth, business, and collaboration.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact, man. So, yeah, don't be a centipede. Don't be a centipede, please. Please don't be a centipede. All right, so let's get to the state of the culture, man.
State of the culture, man.
All right, so
the highest level.
The highest level ever, man. Let's talk about it, man. What's on the agenda?
Man, that's a good question. Just the question sound like a show. What's on the agenda? There's so many agendas.
That is a fact.
So all right. So first of all, I want to do this because I do want to talk about, because when we talk about state of culture, we talk about black media specifically. I think black media is in trouble, right? It started off very bright with this opportunity to really control our narratives, right? With being able to create independent sources of media and change, the conversation. And now it feels, because of what happened with George Floyd or with Kanye West and, a few other different things. First it started with George Floyd, where white companies was giving black media ad dollars as a campaign for diversity. And then you get something like Kanye West's comments. He made them punish black media by taking away their ad dollars in response to them messing with Kanye West, saying that y'all can't really have free media, and we definitely not gonna pay for y'all to say whatever y'all want. So now black media has been forced into, we have to create these toxic shows to meet these quotas. You know what I'm saying? In order for them to grow, which may go specifically against their mission and their guidance of what their brand is, right? And so I believe that part of it, like, there's some people in here, and there's 1,000 people on this chat. These are some millionaires in here, business people, and they don't understand the relationship between black business and black media, right? Specifically where If you see a show that you like, you can reach out to that show and say, listen, I want to, either invest in that show or run ads on that show instead of just running it on Facebook. And what that does is it allows Black business and Black media to grow to where not only we can create more shows, right? We can increase the production value, but at the same time, we increase in our audience. So when you put your product, your service, or your business right on a Black show that specifically has your customer base, right? Now you're making more money and it's, but when we have to completely rely on white corporations 100%, because I don't get me wrong, I got white sponsors. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna say that. Shout out to y'all. Keep the money flowing. But I'm saying when you got 100% respond or rely, it's letting us know that we don't understand the culture of business. We don't understand the culture of attention in media. So what do you think can improve upon the relationship when it comes to Black businesses and Black media, so that therefore we can have more integrity in our networks to where we can control the messages based on what our actual, business vision is?
Yeah, I think it's a variety of different things that happen and has to change, but I think that we have to value the media first of all, because if we don't value it, then we don't even look as a viable option to run ads or to promote different things of that nature, right? And understand that it's a working relationship. Like, the mouthpiece of the people is the media, right? So this is how messages get expressed. Whether you're watching, nightly news, whether you're listening to the radio, whether you're watching podcasts, YouTube, whatever, like, this is the voice piece of the people, because the vast majority of people don't have a tremendous amount of people that they can reach at one time, right? So when you watch platforms like, let's say, CNBC, right? Now, CNBC is a business platform, right? And they have millions of people that watch them and read and follow them on Instagram and things of that nature. So now they're speaking for the investment and business community. Earning Leisure speaking for the investment business community. You're speaking for, a variety of different communities, from conscious to business to different things of that nature. So now it's like, all right, if you're in that community as a business person, why would you not want to involve in the media side of it? It's like politics as well, right? Like, you want to be involved with your local politicians. You want to donate to political campaigns because you understand that it's good to have good relationships with politicians. Same thing with the media space. So I feel like, we only look at media as entertainment. This is the biggest difference between us and other communities. We look at media as entertainment, where other communities, they look at media as an opportunity. So it's like Fox News, right? For instance, that's obviously heavy propaganda that's propagated by the Republican Party. MSNBC is heavy propaganda that's done by the Democratic Party. Both of these parties are controlled by white men. The Democratic Party is controlled by white men. The Republican Party is controlled by white men. The common denominator in the situation is that they both see that media is a way to control the masses and get their message out. So they invest heavily in media. So when you look at the New York Post, that's a Republican leaning situation. When you look at the New York Times, that's a Democratic leaning situation. When you look at the Washington Post, almost every form of white media leans one way. That's not done by accident. That's done because billions of dollars are being pumped into these entities so they can force the direction of which they're leaning. Now, it is beneficial that we don't have that same level of responsibility, because we can go straight. We don't have to lean towards the left or lean towards the right or pander to anybody, because we're not financed by anybody. That gives us a tremendous amount of leverage, and that's good. But there are opportunities, because there are things that are beneficial for everybody to move forward. Like, let's say, like reparations, right? I don't think anybody thinks that that's a bad idea. Anybody that's in our community, anybody that's Black, it's not a bad idea. So it's like, okay, instead of us working apart, why don't we all work together? We have a voice as far as media. The politicians have power politically. The activists have the information, and the people have, the ability to actually mobilize and vote. Now, if we're all on one accord, right? If we all pick, like, let's say, one issue, and we're all on one accord, now we can actually get this situation moving in the right direction. The problem is that we're too scattered, and we argue about different things. And we come and once again, we worry about who's left off of InvestFest. And why wasn't MG the Mortgage Guy on cover of Black Enterprise? And why aren't we on tour with 19 Keys? That's what we're thinking about. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're thinking about. Like, yo, it's actually pretty sad because the world is changing right in front of us, and we worrying about going back and forth with somebody on social media.
Right.
When I just watched 60 Minutes, and they got whole systems where they actually clean energy. Like, this world is moving in a whole different. You got AI, you got clean energy, you got space exploration, and our number one concern is social media influencers debating each other on Instagram.
No, you said a lot right there. You said a lot right there. Damn. You know, I'm always one that I like to sober us up because that's our drunk talk. You know what I'm saying? That's our drunk uncle talk when we do that. It's distracting us from our actual responsibilities, right? Like, when I was on Sway in the morning show and he called me iconic. After that, he said something. He said, you are a huge proponent towards AI. And I had to stop him and clarify. I said, no, I'm not a proponent for it. I'm a teacher of it. Because we are always behind the 8 ball, right? 1995, during the Million Man March, right? Social media or the internet was having its boom, right? Netscape was IPOing, and you could have put money in that, and our parents could have bought .coms and became billionaires, right? We did not have a tech boom in our culture, right? Whatsoever. Our culture skipped the whole tech boom because we were focused on social issues that are very important, but because we're so stuck in survival, we didn't get to the investments. We didn't get to control the future. And we didn't get to focus on creative thinking, right? We were just focused on survival mode. And it's like we complaining as if we're still in survival mode. And I have to stop you all sometime. And when I see in the cultures that, because we love complaining about how down bad we are when you're not really. We're no longer in survival mode. You no longer have to go fend for yourself in that capacity. The problem is just the lack of willfulness today, the lack of emotional resilience. When we look at AI, you can literally sit down and spend the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 hours. And here's the problem is people don't like hard work no more because people think that because ancestors before you worked that you tired. That ain't got nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still have to put in the hard work and develop you a good skill so that you can make a great life. So when you talk about like AI and space exploration and you got all of these new technological things and scientific approaches that's happening, yet we focus on social issues, we're stuck in survival fight mode. So that's why I'm like, nah, everybody else can talk about that. So y'all won't, sometimes people be, Keys, why you don't talk about this, that, and the third? Because it's already happening on somebody else's platform. It will not happen at all if I don't take the reins and not only speak about it once it's already a trend. I'm always working to set the trends, to change the narrative. Like, yo, you don't have to see me creating AI content every day because I've been doing it for the last 5 years. Now I can just sit back and watch the culture guide itself. But we still are far back on what we need to have as the next phases. Like, I don't want to reach out to all the popular influencers and have them on high level. I want to find the scientists, the engineers, the philosophers, right? I want to find the smartest people in the world and have high level conversations, not the most popular people. So when we stop with this popular base, topic of conversation and we get to what's the most value-based conversations, it changes the dynamics in our household, of our neighborhoods, of our whole culture, right? And I believe that's the larger conversation. Like, let's talk about things of real value and substance. You can't tell me that the same argument that Huey P. Newton was making, you know what I'm saying, I should be making the same exact argument. It don't make no sense. I should not be fighting the same fight as my ancestors. I got new tools, new resources, new ways to make money, and new ways to fight. And I got new wars and new battles to fight. You dig? So I do want to dive in a little bit about AI, if we can go there, because I believe that, you always always look at, and here's the thing, and here's one more other thing. When I made that post about household medium income, we're so divided right now in the diaspora. There's like these diaspora wars of like blacks and Africans and these divisions. And I seen some of my good African people, and it was like, how come the list does not separate ethnically, different ethnic groups, right? Of Africans, and it said put everybody in this label of black. And I know black is not a race, it's not a nationality, right? It's a construct that people have accumulated to call themselves, but it's not real. But I seen the Nigerians was like, we doing better, our household is higher, things of that nature, even though it's only like 400,000 Nigerians in here. But what I start to see is like this new classism that starts to pop up in between the different, ethnic groups. And it's going to be dangerous in the future because that's not something Latinos and Hispanics people think about. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that they're fighting for, right? Even Asians, if they would have seen that list and it said Asians are at the top, they wouldn't have been like, what about Chinese? What about Japanese? What about East Indian? They wouldn't have cared, right? But we're fighting to be the least poor. You know what I'm saying? We're fighting to create classism amongst ourselves because we don't have nothing. And instead of attacking this thing, saying that, okay, number one, nobody culture to me, right? This is 19 Keys' opinion, matters the most, right? As far as improvement and progress in America than black people. So why? Because number one, since the inception of this country, we built it. Since the inception of this country, we've been here, right? And when we rise up, America surely will be a great country. You know what I'm saying? And so from a political standpoint, it makes the most sense that you rise black people up because then that changes the whole landscape of the country. So keeping us down is why America is losing now. America is suffering because of the in-house fighting and the civil wars and the racism and the battles and the oppression of creating all these systems to go against each other. You can't fight against nations who are united against one ethnic structure. So you don't want to say, I'm not part of this group. No. If anything, you want to help that group take your numbers to help us average out to increase and grow. Because any benefit any ethnic group has ever gotten in America is specifically because of us, because of our fights towards social change. And I end on this. This has never been another people in the history of the planet Earth, in the history of the entire planet Earth, who has fought more for social change in the sense of freedom, justice, equality than us in America. It's not even a close challenge.
I mean, I feel like if you're an American, you black. That's how they look at it because they're going to call you a nigga anyway.
All right.
So I don't care if you're from Dominican Republic. I don't care if you're from Botswana. I don't care if you're from Australia. Like, all of that, that don't even mean that. Once again, you're fighting a losing fight. Oh, well, I'm not 13th on the chart. I should be number 7 because technically I'm from like who ain't prepared to do nothing to the people that really screwed you over. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the kind of, like, even when somebody come at me, like, if you fell for somebody on the internet that took your money, you ain't man enough to go to the person that took your money and do something. So don't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this, I try, like, bro, this is just the reality of it, bro. I hate people that do 4th and 5th people related. Oh, well, like, somebody screwed you over. In America, there's people that have screwed us over for hundreds of years. You don't want to fight them. You don't want to have an issue with them. You want to debate with 19 Keys on his Instagram page about, well, technically, we're not African American. We're black people. So, like, who, bro? You're broke. You're broke. I don't care what you call yourself. You got brown skin. We're not black. We're brown.
Yeah, well, I'm brown.
Yeah, you fighting over semantics, bro. Like, you fighting over semantics. You want to keep this going forever.
I will say this, Rashad. Look at, on that list, you've seen white on that list, right? Now, nobody's actually black or white, right? Like I said, white people are more transparent. You see their blood from their skin. It's like beige pink. Black people, we're actually brown people, right? So that part don't matter.
But it does matter. Let me explain to you
What I was gonna say about the white. This is how white people were able to gain so much influence power, because you don't see the list separated by Italians, Irish, right, Romans, Greeks. You don't see that. No, it just says white because this is how they maintain a majority. So when they see that word white, they say we doing good, right? Because they have a collective majority, and this happened intentionally and purposefully because they was looking at the numbers right after Africans got out of so-called slavery, and they say, wait a minute, if they have a increased population and they grow in size and they consider themselves to be one, yet we're separated, they're going to see themselves advancing past the Italians, advancing past the Russians, advancing past the white Jews or something of that nature. So instead, let's just call everybody one and let's lump it up, and now we have the majority. But when we walk outside, nobody ever says, oh, that's a white Italian. You know what I'm saying? Nobody ever separates it. So you have to understand the power in numbers. So when you start operating from that mindset of no, I actually want this individual thing, you're operating from a white supremacist mindset that they built into you to keep you divided. The best thing is to put it all under one, guys, so that we have the majority. This is why you have to understand the tactics and the strategies. So you're trying to go backwards, actually. Because if we let you on your own, that's not no growth. No, when we together, now we're taking the tactics that were used against us, and now we can see some growth.
No, that's a fact, and that's a very valid point, because what is white? What does that even mean? What does that? It's like people say, well, I'm not black because black is a color. Well, white's a color too. Very few people are actually the color of white. That's almost impossible to do. How many people have you ever seen in life that's actually really, really white? It's like Anglo-Saxon, like from like the Caucasoid Mountains. That's what, like, people from Eastern Europe are not white. People from Greeks are not white. People, even Jewish people. What does that even mean? Jewish is a religion. That's like saying like Christian people as a race. There's black Jewish people. There's people that's Jewish, that's Arab. There's white Jewish people. So it's like, that's a very good point that you make, because even Arabs, what does that mean? Arab is a language, and it's a region of the world where people speak that language. But they have many different people. From Yemen is completely different from people from Saudi Arabia, from
right.
people from the UAE, right? But they're all categorized as Arab, right? So it's like white people never separate themselves. They all fall under the flag of being white.
They understand that designation gives the majority rule, power, and privilege. Right?
And they can appreciate the heritage still. They can have St. Patrick's Day, and they can appreciate their Irish heritage. They can have, Little Italy, and they can appreciate their Italian heritage. They can have Polish, but they don't have a problem.
The reality of it is we're Americans, right? So if your forefathers were born in America, right? Some of us are Native Americans, as my brother said. Some of us are Moorish Americans, right? And then some are just Americans, right? So if we were going by that particular designation, then that would be proper. And then if we were going by actual description, you would look at it and say, I'm brown, right? But we always talk, we call Mexican people brown and Latinos brown. Like, we ain't brown too. You rarely, unless you go to, somewhere in Africa, you're not meeting too many of those blue, blackish people, right? It may be in like Sudan somewhere, right? But we are brown people, copper color. You feel me?
Like South Sudan, these are very, very dark-skinned people. But for the most part, people, that's very hard to find. So I remember, like, VJ Singh. VJ Singh used to be a golf player. Mm-hmm. He's Indian, but he's very, very dark-skinned, like super black. I'm like, he's black. They like,
the Indians have black gods. They show blue black gods. That's what they worship.
But they're like, he's not black. He's Indian. Well, I'm like, you explain this to me, because he's darker than I am.
Right.
Way darker than I am. So if you call me black, and I'm not even black, I'm brown, right? If you want to go by this color box situation, and he's actually Akon's complexion, explain to me how he's not black. Just I just need an explanation, because now you're not saying black as a color. You're saying black as a race of people that are from America, right? But then it's like, well, you can't just say that, because then you have no problem calling African people black either.
Right.
But so if you're in Jamaica, this is how crazy it is. If you're in Jamaica, and even better, if you're in Haiti and you look like me, then you're black. On the same island, which used to be called Hispaniola, on the other side of the island is Dominican Republic. The only difference is that people speak Spanish. Now, some people would say, well, I'm not black, Latino, or I'm not black, I'm Dominican. Well, what does that actually mean? You're just speaking a different language.
Right.
The second most black people outside of Africa are in Brazil. That's a fact. Because that's where a lot of slave ships went from Africa to Brazil. They have the second largest black population outside of Africa. They speak Portuguese. Are they not black because they speak a different language? None of these languages are our languages anyway. Wherever we were born, that's the language that we were taught. That's the dialect that we speak. Right. So if I speak Polish because I was born in Poland, does that make me not black? Does that make me? So it's an identity crisis. I don't want to harp on this situation for too long, but it's important because we do have an identity crisis, and it goes back to white supremacy, where the closer that we can get to becoming white, the better that we feel about ourselves.
Right. So
it goes back to people that's bleaching it. 19 Keys has left the building. They kicked them off. Instagram hated on them. State of the culture, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give him a minute before he comes back. Hopefully he comes back. But, yeah, it's important. Like I said, this identity crisis thing has to stop in our community because it's not beneficial to anybody, and it's only confusing. It's confusing the young people. Here he comes. "19 Keys is back in the building."
Yeah, we getting back to it, though. It's cool.
Nah, I'm just saying, like, it's an identity crisis. Like I said, I don't want to spend much time on it. Because
I think where it's going to come up the biggest is when you're talking about reparations, right? So when you talk about reparations, like, first of all, everybody here should do a genealogy. The importance of doing your genealogy just in a DNA test, you get to know who your family is, right? So by knowing who your family is, then you get to know the benefits if your family come under certain treaties, right? Like if you go look back in history during the Seminole Wars, what people considered, like what was the difference between what was a Native American and a black person, right? There was a lot of, relations in between when you study history, right? These people were living together. These people were one at particular points in time, right? And then they have children. Is that children Native American or is that child black? The difference is the black child doesn't have designated rights under, established treaties with the United States. So as they give, Native Americans money and give them protective status in this country, and they have sovereignties towards certain lands, if you're not under that same designation and it's not traced back to your genealogy to see, who your family structure is, then you can't claim any of those things. So if we talk about then looking at getting so-called reparations, the only way we'll be able to break it down is through genealogy study and research. Because that's where you would divide ethnicities and say, hey, you're not an African descendant of slaves, so you will not get cut a check. Unless, because what they're trying to do in California is saying that we're not even cutting a check for slavery, we're cutting a check for what happened after slavery, right? So therefore, if you're in America and you're a brown person and you have faced systematic racism, you would still, get a check even if your family were immigrants in America. So even the conversation has a lot of nuance when you're talking about who would get checks for where their family was during slavery versus who would get a check for, their family being in America after slavery for redlining and all of the other different predatory things that they put on our people in America. So the conversation is powerful, but I believe that a lot of people are not approaching it from a solution base. It's just, well, I don't like what y'all say. We're just kind of banging on each other versus creating solutions to say, well, this is the reason I want to set it up like this. So therefore, when we ask for things, we have a system set up in place that makes it easier for us to actually be able to receive what's ours. And I believe our generation will get reparations. I do believe that.
Well, we have a
You know what I'm
reparations panel at InvestFest actually
saying?
with Congressman Jamal Bowman, Benjamin Crump. It's an interesting collective of people. But we definitely have to continue the conversation of reparations because it's important. At the same time, moving forward, like, you know, you can do two things at one time. Some people is like, well, you shouldn't be talking about reparations. You should just be focused on economic empowerment. I think that you can accomplish both simultaneously. I don't think that it's a one or the other situation. It's not like we just sitting at home doing nothing all day. That's just waiting for, you know, a check to come in the mail. That's not a realistic or productive manner to go about things. But you can still force for things that there's a precedent for it in the world and in America, and while still achieving your own economic empowerment, your own economic freedom. And also, I think that we have to just start thinking bigger too. Even, you know, the whole issue of race it bogs people down, and it after a while it just becomes a distraction, because I feel like there's so much opportunity globally, domestically, everything. So it's like you're focused on just everything as far as this is the black point of view, this is the black issue, this is the black thing in America. Well, when you face oppression, you have three options when you face oppression. You can fight it wherever you face it. You can succumb to it and kneel to it, or you can flee it. Right? That's what refugees do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you keep complaining about it, but nobody said that you have to stay in America. Nobody said that you have to, you know, especially now, you can leave America without leaving America digitally. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like there's opportunities out here all over the world. So of course, there's always going to be roadblocks and barriers in our way. But ultimately, like I said, if you're not willing to really fight about it and really, you know, face the people that's really oppressing you, then you either just stop complaining and submit and be a submissive person, or flee. The reality.
I got a question for you, a little different subject. And all right, so let me phrase this question politically correct. I always say this. I'll start it off like this. I always say this. If you see somebody standing next to me, I haven't sold out to them, they sold out to me. And I mean in a good way. Like, you know, historically, if a black man stands next to a white person, say he sold out. And the idea of it is that the person that you're standing next to is more powerful than you, right? When a person says it, right? That's what a person must believe. And I remember saying that years ago, maybe like 6 years ago, because I knew this journey requires diversification, it requires strategic alliances across the board, because we live in a melting pot in America, and you have to be able to work together with different people of different backgrounds and some who have different stances, right? Especially for the point of getting to the ultimate goal, right? Like, there's no straight lines when you go into success, right? Especially when you're doing something big. People at the bottom never have to understand you, right? And I think that's what people have to understand. Like, perspective, you know, is key, but perception, right, can be false, because a person can perceive one thing to be something, they can be completely wrong, right? But perspective, you understand me, gives you a viewpoint that gives you an opportunity for the correct understanding. So anyway, I said that to say this. We work with a lot of different people. You work with a lot of different people. You understand me? And how is it to where, as you go around the world and you work with different people that you have on the show, you may build with, you may have an invest fest, you know, what is the strategy, or do you feel like you have to take on the reputational status of people when you work with them, or, you know, you can work with anybody regardless of you know, what their background may be, because it's beneficial in the way that you're working with them, if you understand my question.
I don't feel like, you know, us working with somebody, we don't work with everybody. So, you know, we work with people that are aligned with how we feel. But ultimately, diplomat. So we're able to move in different environments. The other day we was at Joe Button podcast, crazy type of environment. We went straight from Joe Button podcast to Bloomberg, different type of environment, right? We feel comfortable in both spaces, and we're not compromising who we are for either space. So I feel like that's important for us. We've been able to navigate different rooms. Like we could be on Mav Hoffa's show, or we could be, you know, with the CEO of Chick-fil-A, right, having a conversation. It's not about changing who you are. It's not about, you know, bowing down to somebody, but it's about navigating the room. It's about being an intelligent person. And that's what I'm saying. We're thinking bigger. We're thinking globally. A lot of times people just think like too small, like, oh, I'm keeping it real. I'm only going to stay around these type of people. I'm only going to be in the barbershop. I'm only going to, well, that's as far as you're going to go is the barbershop. If that's what you're going to do. Like we wouldn't be able to be where we're at right now with that mindset. Our mindset has always been open to the world. We open to the world. Whoever's willing and open to do business with us and communicate with us, we willing to do business and communicate with them. As long as was aligned, as long as they're good people, and as long as there's no issue. And that could be anywhere. That could be somebody in Africa. That could be somebody in UAE. That's somebody in Utah. That could be a white person. That could be a black person. That could be somebody from Ireland. Like, you know, we're not on it like that. So I feel like that's something, once again, that comes from an inferiority complex that we place on ourselves, where we don't feel comfortable standing next to somebody. We feel like they're so much over us. So when you see somebody standing next to them, it's like, oh, they Illuminati. Illuminati. That's the only way. Checkered floors. Now you start looking at the videos. Like 19 Keys he got a chessboard on. Yeah, I saw a chessboard. I saw the floor. Now you dudes be doing 6 hours of research and won't even be there for their son's basketball game. They missed their son's basketball game because they trying to figure out what's the stars and the crescent on his crown. And I saw the blue and the white stars, and it was there, and it was 444 and 379. Meanwhile, the kid done failed 3 math classes. You ain't check his homework in 3 weeks. You ain't check his homework in 3 weeks, and you got enough time to be on the internet. You know, things spelled backwards.
To be completely wrong at that.
You know, they had coffee in downtown, and this is the spot that Steve Jobs' uncle used to go.
Oh, man.
If you wasn't in an Illuminati meeting, you're not qualified to speak. I don't like who. This is the crazy thing about it. How did everybody become an expert in Illuminati? Were you there? Video, any reference point online. You taking somebody's information, that's somebody else's information, and they spinning it and they put it on YouTube, and now you're an expert. You're an expert.
It's crazy. It's like a person that took Adderall and they start overly focusing, and they spend all night. They got a whole thesis. They turn it into the teacher, and everything is wrong.
Completely wrong, bro.
It's amazing how detailed a person can be and still be wrong. That'd be my, like, I'd be bewildered by how you can do that, because I don't have the type of brain that can spend that much time on something and be wrong. Like, if I spend that much time, my shit is right. It's genius. But it's people that can spend hours and hours and hours only to come up with the wrong conclusion, because it's confirmation bias. When we're creating narratives to look for what we already thought. We're not taking pieces and putting it together.
Let's say you spent 12 hours to figure out if we signed a contract with Illuminati. Suppose we did. You're still the same person. How does that help you? No, you figured it out. You got me. But you're still broke. That's the part that I don't understand. Like, you trying to figure something out, right? Let's say you're right. You're still screwed. So instead of spending that much energy on something that has no real life value in your life because it's not going to change your life. If Jay-Z is in a secret dungeon somewhere in Iceland, that doesn't, if I find that out,
Right.
I still have to pay my cell phone bill. I can't use that information to get my son into the next grade.
I think it exhausts people of actually doing something in real life by believing that we believe that Black success is orchestrated, right? We believe that if I see something brilliant that young, men out here are doing that come from the hood or come from the culture, and they do something that I can't do. They make it to places that I haven't. They build themselves up. It has to be orchestrated by the establishment versus they use their mind, right? Because how can we believe we that brilliant? How you can't talk we kings, we gods, we royalty, this, that, and the third, and you don't believe in the simplest form, right? That a young man can build himself up to be successful. That to me is where it's a scam because you're reinforcing this inferiority complex that we don't have the power to build ourselves up. And the only way it can be done is by the hand of the devil. So for me, those are people who only believe in the devil. They don't believe in God. You know what I'm saying? Because when they see success, they attribute that to the devil's help rather than God's. They didn't gotta see you ever do nothing bad. They still say, well, there's no way that he's done something that I can't do. He had to be the devil. You know what I'm saying? So how come you are the correct disciple, yet God is not placing the blessings upon you, right? But then you say this person must be helped by the devil. Was you waiting for the devil to help you too? And you don't believe your God actually works? Like me, everything we do, God body energy over here. You know what I'm saying? Like people don't know that they revealing their own weaknesses in their mindset when I listen to them. You know what I'm saying? This is all God energy. Everything that I do been 100% my whole life. That's what I've been built off that foundation. And I'm a type of person, and I know y'all, I see your family. You know what I'm saying? I see the history. Like, we're witnessing geniuses. Let me just say it like that because you know how hard it is to do this work. And we're witnessing hard work every single day, right? And you discount all of that genius, all that strategizing, all that working, all that figuring out, all that studying, all that learning, all that experience, everything, and be like, no, the devil must have gave them what they got. See, that's why you ain't getting nowhere. Because you ain't doing none of the process. And you look at the results. Like, what you think is happening behind the scenes? You know what I'm saying? It's work every single day. When you see a person jumping from one state to another, they got to hop on a plane, they got to get dressed, they got to make calls, they got to go through checkout, they got to do a bunch of different stuff. When you see them booking something, they throw in the event, there's a lot of work behind the scenes. When you see them working with people, they had to hire people, they had to get the payroll together, they had to get together the expenses, they had to come up with marketing plans and sales and all of this stuff. Like, this is work behind the scenes. This is massive organizations in action. You're supposed to be inspired. You know what I'm saying? But instead, nah, that gotta be Illuminati. So come on, man. Like, we gotta really think about what we be saying when we do stuff. It ain't like Black success don't mean martyrism and death. Like, we can actually live life and grow and build and create our own gates and keep those gates so that we don't destroy what we're building. And in time, in this doing, if you're the correct person to build with, your time will come.
People, the Black community has been trained to only respect and pledge allegiance to dead generals. We have no problem wearing a Malcolm X shirt, Martin Luther King, talking about Mansa Musa, right? But when you see things that's happening in real time, you can't understand it. And these people go on social media and talk about, oh, Mansa Musa is the richest person of all time, and da 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 da. So if you want to celebrate that, you champion that. Well, when something is happening in real time that is completely almost impossible to accomplish, not for our community, for any community. That's why we went on Bloomberg. They do like, yo, y'all been able to get Robert Smith, Don Peebles, Mark Cuban, Shaq, like y'all got 14, like this is Bloomberg.
Bro, if let's just say this, if that was a white boy, they be calling him a genius. This nigga's the greatest strategic networker on the planet. How come y'all don't get that same? How come we don't just attribute that to these niggas smart?
It's because we've normalized greatness. That's the dangerous part about this. Like, we put a flyer on about InvestFest. We got there's 10 black billionaires in America. We got 2 of them. And the richest black person in American history and the 3rd richest black person in the world, let alone everybody else, right? And then some people's like, well, can you add Kev on stage? Like, no disrespect, but I'm saying it's like, if you can add this person, bro, we put 3 billionaires on a lineup, and you want me to go out and get another person? Like, when have you ever in history ever seen something like that? When have you ever in history seen the richest black person in American history speaking in front of 20,000 people in Atlanta, Georgia for a couple of $100? Like, when have you ever seen that? Not for our community, for any community. When have that ever been available and have access for anybody at the lowest price point that you could possibly think of? And it's like, does the ticket come with free parking?
We spoiled, man. We are spoiled people. Like, so, you know, highest level tour. We in your city. Make sure you get your tickets. Grateful plug. But it's like, we are still a liability over assets culture. We're not an assets over liability culture yet, right? And so that's the fight, right? That's why it's the campaign, right? We say the highest level because we're trying to get people out of low level thinking, right? So when you hear these campaigns, these slogans that we have, we're fighting against the very narratives that people are using to make the decision making. Right, so when we're liabilities over assets, we don't mind spending money, time, and energy, right, on things that are liabilities. But when it comes to assets, wait a minute, man. I gotta think about this for a second. You know what I'm saying? Like, you tell a person, get you some Nike shoes. You wear these shoes. You know what I'm saying? You know what they for. You go look fly for a second. Versus buy you some Nike stock. Wait, I don't know about that stock stuff. That stock stuff is scam. I don't know, man. I don't even know if I got the money like that. It's liabilities over assets, right? So the reversal is once it becomes assets over liabilities, you say it's called investments. You telling me you got the top 1% in the world in there? I'm there. What else do I have to do, right? Like, what?
Yeah.
What? Wait a minute. High-level conversations. Y'all bringing some of the smartest people in the world, the most high-level people to my city. I'm there. I'm not thinking. I'm not blinking because these things have not existed in the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So when they happen, be in the room. Show up. That's a representation. That stop fucking just sitting behind the screen hoping for things to change. You got to be in those environments to make that change.
It's spoiled. You become spoiled. You become spoiled, and you don't appreciate things when you're spoiled. I went to Davos, Switzerland, where there was 300 billionaires and crazy world leaders, all of that, right? I went there, and we was there off the strip. Shout out to my man Dre, Cool and Dre.
That was
we didn't pay
Illuminati stuff, though, bro.
Yeah.
No.
So we paid to get there with the thing. An event like that, right? People paying $50,000, $20,000, like $10,000 to go. That's the entry,
right?
Let alone.
But bro, think about how y'all got there. This is what people don't get appreciated. And you got there because of respect. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who respected y'all was like, bro, I need to shake things up over here, right? And I respect y'all platform, y'all movement, and what y'all doing, right? And so what normally has never happened in the history of our culture when individuals like us do things, now you got some of us that's in the room saying that I have to respect that. I can't just watch it. I have to help it, right? And this is what you all that's in these organizations and these corporations and these places, you all are in position to assist and help. And you watch it and you be like, damn, I need to figure out how I can help EYL and I can help high-level conversations. There's individuals like you that they call the Illuminati, right? Because what they're saying is when we get in position and we help each other, that's not supposed to happen. That's the devil. No, that's God. That's us finally doing things the right way. So when I see you, right, over there, I'm like, okay, That's our people working together. That's what they call unity that we've been wanting to see. So how you gonna demonize our solutions?
But here's another thing about that, because people like, yo, you go into Davos, Switzerland, that's Illuminati. That's where that's where all of the world leaders come for devil worship and all that. Pretty much saying that that's an evil environment. Why are you in an evil environment? So this the interesting thing about it, right? That's the evil environment. We should stay away from there. We in evil environments every single day. You in the projects with people that are shooting at each other, gang violence, people fucking passing out on heroin. Like, we come from the worst economic environments ever known to man history, from all over the globally. And Hype Williams made the projects look like Las Vegas in the music videos. He would be in Queensbridge projects and make that look so appealing that out of towners want to come to Crenshaw and Slauson, and that turned into a destination. You living in hell. You living in hell. And you've normalized that. That's a comfortable situation. That's home. That's home. The hood has become such a sense of pride. The hood has become such a sense of pride that we love the dysfunction. We love the rolling dice on the corner. We love the liquor store. We love the smoke shop. We love it's exciting to see a shootout. We love to rap about that. But you criticizing me for going to Switzerland. But just make it make sense though, because when a rapper is rapping about, they glorifying the hood all day. I'm in the hood, I'm blowing your brains out. The gang wars, like this drill music. If you cross the street one block over, that's my ops. That's hell. Like, you live in it. Like, it's like Raekwon said that, what do you believe in, heaven and hell? You can't say you believe in heaven because you living in hell. You've normalized that. Not only have you normalized that, you celebrated it. And you turned that into a destination, like Disney World. People go in front of Marcy projects and take a picture. Like, this is Jay-Z's home. And now, when we like, oh, you crossed the line this time. You crossed the line. You did too much. You did too much. Doing too much.
But that's called a global campaign. You know what I'm saying? When you go to war, you got to go into enemy's territory. You know what I'm saying? So, like, this is how you take over. So a lot of people don't think from a strategy standpoint, right? And so people are not, like, most people will never be generals. They at best, they soldiers. You know what I'm saying? And some people not even soldiers. They might just be the cook. They might be the tech guy, right? In an army, there's many different positions. But the soldier never has to understand the general. He just got to follow orders. And I've learned and understood that throughout my life, that I might not understand the perspectives, the moves that people that are so-called higher up than me are making, because I'm not in that position, right? I can only understand it from my viewpoint, my worldview, and my perspective. So I might say, I don't like what you're doing, but I don't even see what you see. If you higher up, you can see the whole board. The chess piece, you understand me, don't know what the move is. They just got to move. But the person playing, now I need you to move right here because I can see the board and what's going to be the best strategy for us. So if you playing chess, you're the general that moves the pieces, right? But the pieces don't get a say-so on where they go, right? And so the average population, and we just being honest, you are soldiers, right? Now, you can be a general in your situation, but I'm talking about from a global position and standpoint. And so the goal is, how do, you know what, like in the soldier mindset, they relinquish their individuality, right? Which is why you cut the hair off bald. You're not so focused on your own internal ego and narcissism. You said, no, tell me what to do so I can be best suited, right, for the collective, right? And so it's like, I ain't understand that order at all, but I ain't need to, right? Because what I need to do is to be the best in my position. And what you all have to do is figure out how you can be the best in your position, right? So like, if you're working in corporations, if you're working in these places, my challenge to you all is reach out and figure out how you can support. You may see things that we don't see because you may have vantage points and skill sets that we don't have, right? So if you see things not working the best way, help us create a way to make it even better, because we can only do it from our experience, our vantage point, what our team skills have in there, what we've mastered, and the maturity of growth that we've made it to. So that's my challenge to the culture. It's saying that, all right, and I'm talking about people with, not people with just dreams, because I ain't talking about just emails. You telling me, hey, I got this idea for this thing. No, I'm talking about you actually being in position and you can press the button and everything goes. You know what I'm saying? Like, people always wait to see you to be like, yo, I've been wanting to do this thing. Like, no, just reach out. Like, we got technology, we got phones. We ain't got to wait to see each other in person. Don't get me wrong. In-person experiences are great, especially for networking, because you feel that energy. But reach out beforehand so we can actually start building and make this thing grow exponentially. I don't want it to be dependent on Rashad and 19 Keys. I want everybody to take this and assume ownership of this movement. And that's why you show it to the highest level tour. That's why you show it to Invest Fest. That's assuming ownership and saying that the only way for this to be successful is not a Rashad and Troy show up. It's not a 19 Keys show. It's if y'all show up. That's the only way this works. You're not getting no rooms unless people look at it and be like, I'm not gonna keep watching this. I'm gonna help this because they're doing the right thing, right? Like, that's the goal of this movement. We're changing the culture. It is assets over liabilities. It's the highest level, right? It's high level conversations. It's not low level action, thoughts, energy, emotions, feelings. Dead all that. And anybody you see on that, ignore them, unfollow them, tell them to step their game up and their energy up. Tell them to add to the movement instead of trying to subtract. Tell them stop asking what the movement can do for you, but what you can do for the movement.
And that's a fact. One of the last points that I want to make about this is that, once again, it's important to. I don't want to feel like I'm berating people, but it's important to have these conversations because sometimes when you don't realize the error that you're in until somebody actually points it out. It's like dealing with your brother. Like your brother might have said something that was incorrect, and you gotta it's discipline. Discipline is not necessarily a bad word. We all need discipline. Without
word.
We have no way, and we just walk in a path with no direction. So it's like even the Diddy thing is a good example. I want to talk about that for a minute if we can. So, a lot of people, obviously, they excited. It's like, it's Diddy hit billionaires, Diddy. But, it's a lot of people I realize that really don't like Diddy. They hate him, actually. So people are like, yo, he does terrible business. He's a terrible businessman. He screwed people over so many different times. My thing is this. Have you ever done business with him? That's the crazy thing about it. Like, you giving me a lecture about he's a bad business person. We've done business with him, and it's been good business. Is there a possibility that he's done bad business with other people? Of course, but there's a possibility that you've done bad business with other people. There's a possibility that you screwed somebody over in your life. You working for your boss. Your boss probably screwed over 10,000 people in the course of time. We hold people to different standards. When I see revolt, I see black people. I don't know what you want me to tell you. This is the inner workings of what I've seen. I know a lot of other black CEOs and black moguls who don't have that. Their employees are 90% white. I see young black people that's cool, that we rock with. You know them. I know them. These are people that I know. So I'm not here to vouch for somebody's character because nobody is an angel. Nobody's good or nobody's bad, right? It's all perception. Somebody might tell you, I'm the best person in the world. And somebody else might tell you like, yo, he's an asshole. They're both right. Because it just depends on the circumstances, it depends on the day. Like, you know what I'm saying? But just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean that you can't learn from them. That's another too emotional. Just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean you can't do business with them. Like, these are the things that our community can't figure out. You don't think that Russia and China, you think that they can't even speak the same language. They don't even speak the same language. You think that they like everything that goes on with each other? No. Right. But they realize that it's beneficial for them to have a strategic alliance and they're working together. Right. That's what people do all around the world. We have to be best friends with you, to learn from you. You went to the public school system your whole entire life. You didn't like your teacher. Your teacher probably talked down to you. Your teacher probably was a racist. You learned from them, and you got a miseducation that didn't even help you anything. So now this is somebody that actually looks like you, that's from your community, that actually, he doesn't have to do it. He's not charging us to do it. He's going to provide information, even if it's one line. He's a billion. There's only 10 of them in America. This is a unicorn. It's almost impossible. And you trying to debate me about Mace's contract in '96.
I will say this. I have no personal knowledge of specifically Diddy's business deals or inner workings to the negative. And I would say this, because when we look at Revolt actually has been very necessary and instrumental, right? And so it's like the idea of counsel culture is wrong because you don't allow people to do good after you think that they've done wrong, right? And there was very pivotal points on Revolt that keeps my respect high over there. And was when, number one, they had the Honorable Minister Farrakhan on at a time when no other media outlet would, and at a time where they essentially got in trouble for doing it, right? They have you all on, they gave you a show. They've had me on almost all of the shows that's on Revolt, and personally reached out, the CEO, Detavio, and Diddy, and said that we want to amplify the voice specifically because we see you doing good things in the culture. And that's the conversation, right? Not only that, we want to pay you. That's the conversation. So it's like if people would have gotten their way, right, and counseling who you believe should be counseled, you don't allow them to do the good that they can do after the moments that you believe that they shouldn't be around for, right? And so now we don't get assets over liabilities on Revolt. We don't get the Drink Champs episode and all of the other different things that have come from it in the moments in history that reverberates from it. And so, you know, I think it's necessary actually, you know, and when you have inner workings of what happens behind the scenes, it changes your position on different things, right? Like I said, I have no inner workings of knowing any of the history and all of that. That ain't what I'm even getting at. But what I am getting on is strategy and how we can continue to use each other in a way to where we can be beneficial, right, for this next leg of our progress on this journey. You know what I'm saying? And so I would love to see, and I'm interested to see how, you know, Diddy handles the stage at Revolt and the things that he talks about. Right? I want to see what that conversation, you know, becomes. But I want to give kudos to you all because, you know, it's not easy, like you said, of generating these conversations, of creating these type of stages, of creating these kind of panels, right? We're allowing the culture the opportunity to grow at a vast rate, right, and to experience these particular things, right? A man has to stand up for himself. That's not my job. But my job is, you know, as I look back, help us to think through these things and figure out what's the best way to get things done, right? We may think that the best thing is, let me choose this young brother that's a social activist on the street. And that may be good for your spirit and how you felt was the best thing to do, but it may not be the most progressive thing in order to get the movement to where it needs to be because you can't go to war without money, right? And so you don't want to have a room full of talking points but no action, right? You don't want to have a room full of talking points but no funds, right? That stagnates the movement. So you have to have, quote unquote, the money involved. You have to have the power involved. You have to have the networks involved, right? You have to have the movers and the shakers of culture involved because we see when we want to green light ignorance, it's green lighted fast. And what we're trying to do is get, you know, the positive actions in our communities and solutions green light. How do you think that happens, right? Presidents, politicians, leaders, they connect with people all across the planet Earth to help get their ideas funded. They create alliances across the planet Earth to get these things going. That's what a good general does, right? So take a step back and ask yourself the question, why are these brothers making this move? How is this beneficial? What's the strategy here? Then you start thinking like this. But if you're just reacting from an emotional standpoint, you will never understand, and you will be in your silo of feelings while we working and creating actions.
That is a fact, my brother. I gotta run, man. But I want you to
highest level
conversation. So I want to talk about the highest tour before we end this.
Yes, sir. So May 4th, I want everybody to pull up for my Born Day celebration. It's tourist season, first of all. You know what that means. It's heavy. Legendary performances is about to happen in New York, the Apollo Theater, famous Apollo Theater. I was looking at my phone, I took a picture there I screenshotted a picture of the Apollo back in 2018. I went there. That was before I was ever, I think, in New York. And then I went and took a picture of it in 2021. You know what I'm saying? And this is part of my journey of visualization and manifesting things to come true. And now, I get to actually be on that stage and create history, right? You all was on that stage in 2021, and there's a lot of legacy, there's a lot of energy, and, being in this transformational room around high-level people and getting this mind-bending experience, not only for New York, but, of course, we got Chicago, we got Cleveland, we got St. Louis, we got all of Texas, Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, we got New Orleans, we got Philly, we got Detroit, Baltimore, Boston, and Cleveland. And we're working on LA, and we're working on some international dates as well. But, this is the People's Tour. This is for y'all. This is for us. This is, the thing that we've been able to do, like when we went out to London. What I really loved about that experience, when I thought about it after it was over, we created something new, right? We got like theaters, we got plays, we got concerts, we got clubs and lounges. So when you think about, how can I invest my time? Like most of the time, we don't have stuff we can invest in our time. We have things we can spend our time in, right? That money goes out, they don't give us no return. But creating this asset culture of experiences to where it's like, instead of that concert, where I just go listen to music, get high, and I leave. No, we get to actually go have a transformational experience, learn something, and catch a vibe, and network, and build, and get some life-changing and mind-changing game, and then go home. And when you go home, you're taking those experiences and that knowledge and that information and those contacts, right? And now you can say, yo, I really invested my time tonight. Like the culture is changing. You can be happy to like, I'm happy I'm alive to see this because this was different, right? And so for me, that's a representation of us creating a new culture, right? And giving people new experiences and new opportunities. So I'm excited to, be a leader in this movement. And, this is my first tour. So show up and show out. It's going to be beautiful. If you're single, come to the tour because there's going to be a lot of high-level women there, fellas. They already told me they showing up in droves. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a lot of high-level men there, ladies. They smart and they got money. And we're going to give them some game. You feel me? So, and you can show up with your family as well. So I'm just letting you know that. But tickets, link in my bio. Go to 19keys.com.
Nah, definitely. Man, New York City, man. Show up. The Apollo Theater this Saturday, right?
Yes, sir.
19
May 4th.
Or the first stop on the tour. Congratulations to you. That's big. The Apollo, that's something that, only legends get to perform at the Apollo.
Yeah.
So,
all the VIP is sold out. There's only on the top balconies is still available. So, but that bottom floor, you gotta be fast for that one.
Magical night. You told me about some of the surprises that you got.
I wish I could say it. I'm not gonna lie. I wish I could say it, but I can't.
The surprises is
so
it's
gonna be legendary.
Congratulations on that. Definitely. If you can make the high level conversation tour, make it a city near you. He's hitting almost every city in America, so a city near you for sure. And yeah, man, kudos to you. Congratulations to everything. High level conversations show. Make sure you watch it. New episode out right now with Director X. That was actually a really good one. I was watching yesterday. Yeah. Conversation about meditation and how the brain works and different things like that. Very interesting conversation. So congratulations to you, man. Pushing the culture.
Congratulations to us, man. The EYL network is #1 in the culture.
Nah, that's
#1 in the culture. I dare you say somebody else.
I
dare you. I dare you. Call all the network presidents. Call anybody. This is #1.
That's a fact, man. So Keys, I appreciate you, brother. And Keys will be at Best Fest for sure. So
I got something special for Invest Fest. Don't even worry.
I appreciate that, man. So, Market Mondays, we back tomorrow night. Love is love. Peace, man. Stay travel.